Chosen one, you have heavenly backup. Fear nothing. Heavenly backup is here. There is a power behind you that is not of this world. There is a protection over your life that cannot be explained by logic or reason. Chosen one, you were never walking alone. The shadows tried to convince you that you were forgotten, abandoned, overlooked, but you weren't. In fact, the more silent it became, the more heaven surrounded you. In the very moments where it felt like you had no support, no rescue, and no hope, those were the moments the universe rallied in your favor. This message is a spiritual reminder and a divine confirmation that heaven has your back, and you don't have to fear anything anymore. Before we dive into this, I invite you to watch this video all the way until the end. Let this message be a healing river to your soul. If it speaks to you deeply, I encourage you to write in the comments your warmest wishes and the number 99. This is a chapter about wishes coming true and energizing the universe, and you're not here by accident. Something is being activated in you. The chosen ones are often misunderstood. Their paths are rarely simple, and their callings never come with loud applause. You may have faced seasons that tried to break your spirit, that stripped everything from you just to see if you would still stand. And yet, you're here. That is not just resilience, it's divine resilience. What's been protecting you, guiding you, and nudging you forward isn't just instinct or coincidence. It is heavenly backup. You are being held by something far greater than what the human eye can see. Every closed door, every delay, every betrayal had hidden hands guiding the outcome. You didn't miss your moment. It was being prepared for you. The reason the attacks were so heavy wasn't because you were weak, but because you are marked. Marked for greatness, marked for impact, marked for divine intervention. When you are chosen, life doesn't come at you soft. It comes at you strong, only to reveal that you are stronger. You might have been in situations that crushed others. You endured losses that would have silenced most. You carried weights that weren't yours to bear, and still moved forward with a heart that refused to turn cold. That's not normal. That's divine strength. That's what happens when you are backed by the energy of heaven. The delay in your life was not denial, it was divine strategy. The silence was not punishment, it was preparation. You weren't being ignored, you were being protected. Fear is no longer your portion. Doubt is no longer your song. This is the chapter where you rise, not by your own might, but by the power that is lifting you. The invisible has always been more real than the visible, and what surrounds you now is far more powerful than what opposes you. You have backup, you have covering, you have grace that isn't fair, favor that isn't explainable, and a destiny that is unshakable. They counted you out. They said you wouldn't make it. They whispered behind your back that you were finished. But what they didn't know is that heaven had already written the final chapter, and it ends in your favor. You were built for the climb. You were chosen for the wait. You were destined to rise when others fall. And the moment you chose not to give up was the moment the heavens leaned in closer. Some battles you never had to fight because angels stepped in when you didn't even know you were in danger. Some delays saved your life. Some rejections were disguised redirections. You didn't lose, it was a divine exchange. You gave up something temporary to receive something eternal. You stepped out of the illusion and into the truth of who you are. Divinely guided, fiercely protected, unshakably chosen. You are not alone in the room. You are not outnumbered. You are not underqualified. The reason they couldn't understand your light is because they were never meant to carry it. You're different, and it's time to stop apologizing for that. Every spiritual backup system is online now. The ones who mocked your dreams will soon witness your elevation, not because you forced it, but because heaven has spoken. There were moments you wanted to scream, moments you wanted to run, moments you felt paralyzed by fear, unable to take even one more step. And still, you kept going. That was not your strength alone. That was your backup system engaging. Heaven saw the tears you cried in secret. Heaven counted the times you said, "I can't do this anymore," and still showed up for others. That's why you are now being honored in the spiritual realm. You didn't just survive the storm. You became the storm. You were the lesson. You were the shift. Your energy altered rooms before you even spoke. And now, that same energy is being multiplied and magnified because you never quit. The divine system has waited for this moment. The recalibration has finished. You're about to step into what you were always promised. People will say it came out of nowhere, but you'll know. You'll remember the nights you cried out, the days you walked alone, the rejections that broke your spirit, the silence that haunted you, and how it all led you here, backed by something greater. You'll move in such peace, it will confuse those who tried to break you. You'll move in such authority, it will shake the very foundations of those who doubted you. They see only your smile now, but heaven sees your scars, and your scars are sacred. They are proof of the war you endured and the victory you didn't even see coming. You are being prepared. Every hardship, every betrayal, every test, it all built you into someone unstoppable. And now you move with assurance, not arrogance, with grace, not vengeance, with peace, not panic. You are divinely aligned, divinely appointed, divinely covered. No more asking for permission to exist. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. No more waiting for validation from broken systems. You already have heaven's approval, and that is enough. Move accordingly, stand boldly, speak truthfully, walk purposefully. Heaven doesn't invest in mistakes. You are a divine idea, wrapped in human form. And the reason the attack was so fierce is because your destiny is so powerful. You don't have to force what's meant for you. It's already being delivered. You don't have to chase what you were born to attract. All you must do now is remain open, stay connected, stay aware. There is more around you than against you. There is a heavenly wind pushing you forward now. Doors are opening without explanation. Solutions are appearing in ways that confound logic. People are being assigned to you, not for convenience, but for covenant. Everything is aligning, not because of who you are, but because of who walks with you. You were created with precision. Your existence is not random. Your path may have been painful, but it has always been sacred. You are not the one who was forgotten. You are the one who was hidden. Hidden for this moment. Hidden for impact. Hidden for such a time as this. And now, it's time. You're not crazy. You're not delusional. You're not behind. You are awakening. You are remembering who you are. And as you do, every frequency that once silenced you begins to tremble. You are no longer negotiating your light to fit in places that were never worthy of you. You are walking into the fullness of your name, the chosen one. And every heavenly resource is at your disposal now. Nothing can stop what's already been decreed. You are rising, and this time, it's irreversible. They tried to label you, limit you, lock you in definitions that no longer apply to the person you've become. But what they didn't realize is that your growth was never for their comfort. It was for your calling. And now the shift is so clear, even those who used to question your value are beginning to sense that something powerful surrounds you. It's not arrogance that they feel, it's the vibration of someone who has been backed by heaven and is no longer afraid to act like it. This is your rebirth in motion. The version of you that doubted everything is being shed. The one who needed constant reassurance, who questioned their every move, who dimmed their brilliance just to be tolerated. That version no longer leads. What's emerging now is a warrior, a leader, a presence, someone who has been refined by fire and still chose compassion over bitterness. And for that alone, heaven smiles upon you. You're being realigned with your original frequency, the one you had before the pain, before the fear, before the world tried to convince you that playing small was safer. You were born to disrupt cycles, to awaken generations, to make the invisible real again. Every moment you spent wondering why it had to be so hard was just a part of a greater orchestration, preparing your soul to hold the weight of this next dimension. Fear can't follow you here. The doubts will not translate in this atmosphere. You've passed too many tests in silence for any shadow to threaten your light now. What you're stepping into has already been fought for in the unseen realm. The victories are signed. The elevation is sealed. Your name is being whispered in rooms that your feet haven't even touched yet. And when you arrive, it will feel like the universe conspired just for you to be there. You've had to learn how to lead even when you were bleeding, how to encourage others while battling your own storms, how to give love while healing from the absence of it. That's why you're different. That's why you carry a depth that can't be faked or bought. There's a wisdom in your eyes now, a knowing in your spirit. You don't need to explain it to everyone. Just walk it. Those meant to recognize it will feel it in their bones. And make no mistake, your presence now disrupts everything that doesn't match your frequency. That's not conflict, that's clarity. That's not rejection, that's redirection. You're being positioned to lead, not blend, to command, not conform, to guide, not be dragged. It's time to stop shrinking around those who benefit from your confusion. You're not confused anymore. You've outgrown the versions of yourself that needed to be accepted by people who never saw you. The veil is lifting. You see through the games now. You feel energy before words are even spoken. You recognize truth beyond appearances. And you're no longer interested in survival. Your soul is craving expansion. You weren't built just to endure. You were designed to transform everything you touch. And that's exactly what's happening now. Your energy is shifting the field. You are the activation point. You've suffered, yes. But your suffering wasn't in vain. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. A stripping away of illusions, attachments, and false identities. What remains now is truth, power, grace. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. Your existence is the evidence. Your resilience is the answer. Your authenticity is the revolution. They may still talk about the old you, but don't let it bother you. That version of you doesn't even exist anymore. You've evolved beyond their perception, and their inability to update their view of you is not your burden to carry. Keep going. Let your transformation be the only response. Let your glow speak for itself. The backup you have now is cosmic. The support system surrounding you is eternal. You are not moving alone. In this season, the truth will reveal itself, not by your explanations, but by your presence. You'll walk into rooms and the atmosphere will shift. You'll speak and chains will break in people's minds. You'll love and healing will begin in places that were frozen for years. That's what you carry now. That's what heaven has activated within you. This isn't about a spotlight. This isn't about fame. This is about divine purpose, about being who you were sent here to be, fully and unapologetically. There is no more hiding. There is no more waiting for the right time. The time is now, and the world is already responding to the signal you're emitting. You might not see the full picture yet, but you're walking it out with more grace than you know. Every step you take is divinely guided. Every word you speak is being woven into a greater plan. You don't have to rush. You don't have to hustle. You just have to align, and the current will carry you to where you belong. People who are truly sent by the divine don't have to force their way in. They are invited. They are called for. And that's the energy surrounding you now. Watch how things begin to fall into place with ease. Watch how the things that used to drain you lose their grip. Watch how people begin to treat you with a reverence they didn't have before. That's not ego. That's spiritual order being restored. You've reached a level where peace is no longer optional. It's required. Where truth is your only language. Where anything that costs your soul is too expensive. And anything that tries to shrink your purpose is simply denied. You're not going backwards. You've crossed too many thresholds. You've seen too much, learned too much, and healed too deeply to return to old patterns. Your presence is a portal now. Your life is a testimony. You don't need to explain why you're moving differently. Those who are spiritually attuned will already understand. And those who don't, that's not your assignment. You're not here to convince. You're here to embody, to walk in such fullness that your life becomes the evidence of divine backing. So when fear tries to whisper, remind it who walks with you. When doubt creeps in, remind it what you've survived. When confusion tries to return, remind it of the clarity that now governs your steps. You are not who you used to be. You are not what they said about you. You are not what happened to you. You are a walking miracle, a soul who made it through the fire and came out refined. And heaven hasn't just backed you. Heaven is now moving through you. The alignment is real. The timing is precise. And the path ahead? It's sacred. You've entered a realm where things no longer happen by chance. They happen by alignment. You are not waiting for miracles. You are becoming one. The world around you is shifting, not because something outside of you changed, but because everything within you has. The inner battles have been won. The voices of fear have been silenced. And now you walk with a quiet authority that doesn't ask for permission. It simply is. The divine backup that has always been present is no longer in the background. It's at the forefront now. The energies you once felt, only in moments of silence or deep reflection, are now guiding your daily steps. You feel it in the way your intuition speaks louder than ever. You feel it in the way doors open without your effort. You feel it in the peace that follows you, even when the world around you is in chaos. This is the phase where ease replaces struggle, where purpose replaces confusion, where sacred timing replaces forced plans. You no longer need to push against the current. You've become the current. You've aligned so deeply with your divine nature that everything that is meant for you is now magnetized to your presence. You're not chasing, it's being drawn to you. You've felt the loneliness of the climb, the cost of choosing growth over comfort, the pain of outgrowing everything familiar. And that journey carved a depth into your soul that now becomes your compass. You no longer seek crowds, you seek clarity. You no longer crave attention, you crave alignment. And with that shift, you've become untouchable by the things that once haunted you. Your backup isn't just protection, it's propulsion, it's acceleration, it's divine force, pushing you into spaces you didn't even dare to dream about before. Where you once doubted if you were worthy, you now move like you belong. Where you once hoped to be chosen, you now remember that you've been chosen all along. And this remembrance is rewriting your future in real time. Those who tried to bring you down didn't realize that all they were doing was sharpening your awareness. They were unintentionally teaching you discernment, strength, and strategy. Now you see through people's energy before they even speak. You hear the truth behind every word. You sense the hidden motives behind every smile. And still, you choose peace. Still, you choose grace. That is power. You're not here to take part. You're here to take charge. And not in the way the world defines power. This is sacred authority, gentle strength, quiet confidence. You've stopped looking for external validation because the divine voice within you is now louder than the noise of the world. You've become your own confirmation, your own sanctuary, your own proof. Even the battles you never talked about, the ones that almost broke you, are now becoming blueprints for others. People are watching you rise and don't even know the storms you walked through barefoot. But heaven knows, and heaven is honoring every tear, every prayer, every act of courage you made in secret. This is not just your time, it's your reward. You won't have to beg for understanding anymore. You won't have to prove your worth. Your life will speak for itself. Your energy will do the talking. And the right people, the ones aligned with your frequency, will find you without you needing to explain a thing. That's the power of divine backup. It brings everything into your orbit that was always meant to find you. There's a reason your process took longer, a reason you couldn't take shortcuts. You were being built to last. You weren't being trained for a moment. You were being forged for a mission. And now that you're here, your spirit is unshaken. Your path is protected, and your presence is undeniable. You are the chosen one, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you chose not to break. You chose not to turn cold. You chose not to give up, even when it felt like hope had run dry. That choice, over and over again, aligned you with the highest forces of the universe. And now those forces are showing up for you in ways that will leave even you speechless. There is no going back to who you were. That version of you was a cocoon, a vessel, a preparation. Who you are now is fully activated. You walk differently because you see differently. You speak differently because you feel differently. And everything about you radiates purpose because you are finally living from your soul, not your survival. When people look at you now, they'll wonder what changed, and you won't need to explain. Because those who are meant to walk with you in this new chapter won't need an explanation. They'll simply recognize your light. And those who aren't meant to come with you will feel uncomfortable without you even saying a word. That's not your burden to carry. That's energy doing its job. You're in the season where closed doors are a blessing, where silence is sacred, where solitude is your strength. The divine backup you have now is filtering everything that no longer matches your destiny. Don't fight the disconnections. Don't grieve the exits. They're making space for what's real, for what's aligned, for what's eternal. Your journey was never meant to be ordinary. That's why you never fit into ordinary spaces. You weren't designed to blend. You were born to break patterns, shift timelines, and awaken souls. That's why it's been heavy. That's why it's been lonely. That's why you had to walk through darkness others couldn't even imagine. But that darkness was the soil in which your light rooted itself. And now the bloom begins. You are no longer waiting for life to happen to you. You are happening to life. Your presence alters reality. Your truth awakens others. Your energy restores faith. That's the level you're walking in now. And with every step, heaven walks with you. You no longer need to second-guess your instincts. That deep knowing within you, the voice that whispers even when the world is loud, is no longer just a guide. It's a command. It's the voice of divine alignment speaking through you. You've learned to trust what can't be seen, and now that trust is becoming your greatest power. The veil is thin, the timing is perfect, and the backup you carry isn't just protection, it's revelation. This is why you've been feeling lighter lately. Not because the path got easier, but because your spirit grew stronger. The chains of who you were told to be have fallen. The pressure to meet expectations rooted in survival has melted away. You are now operating from freedom, not fear. From truth, not trauma. From alignment, not ambition. And the force that moves with you now is ancient, sacred, and unstoppable. Heaven never asked you to be perfect. It asked you to be present, to stay, to endure. And you did. Even when your knees buckled and your heart broke open, even when no one clapped for you, when no one saw your efforts, when no one checked in, you still showed up, you still rose, you still poured light into places that only knew darkness. And for that alone, the universe is shifting everything in your favor. Don't be surprised when people from your past no longer resonate with you. You've evolved beyond recognition, not in appearance, but in energy. Your spirit is no longer speaking the same language as fear, drama, or desperation. You've unplugged from cycles that once defined you, and in doing so, you've opened portals that only respond to truth. You're not being distant, you're being discerning. Let them talk, let them wonder, let them misunderstand. You are no longer responsible for managing other people's comfort around your growth. You are here to rise, to build, to lead, to embody the very power that once terrified you. And the beautiful part? You're doing it with grace, with humility, with quiet certainty that you don't need to announce what heaven has already approved. This is the moment where everything accelerates, not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing less of what drains you. Your no is sacred now. Your time is protected. Your peace is priceless. And every choice you make is either a continuation of your healing or a sacrifice of your purpose. You already know which direction to take. You've been given clearance to walk in full authority. You're not waiting for a sign. You are the sign. You're not asking for confirmation. You are the confirmation. What once felt like a delay was just heaven rearranging the pieces behind the scenes so that when you stepped into your moment, it would be undeniable. And now, that moment has arrived. Every space you enter is different now. You feel it in your body. Your presence stretches the atmosphere, not because of what you say, but because of who you are. Your light is a reminder to others of their own light, and some will love you for it, while others will resist you for the very same reason. But that's not your concern anymore. You've been assigned, not accepted. There is a wave of blessings approaching that have your name on them, not because you manipulated anything, but because you mastered yourself. You faced your own shadows. You healed wounds that no one apologized for. You learned to hold yourself when no one else could. And now, the universe is holding you in return. Watch how everything begins to reflect your frequency. Watch how even your smallest intentions turn into miracles. Watch how the things you prayed for begin to appear, not because you begged, but because you became. You became the version of yourself who was always worthy of receiving. You walked through the valley, You stood in the fire, and now you stand in glory. Your heavenly backup isn't just hovering anymore, it's moving. You'll notice how things begin to click, how people are drawn to your energy for reasons they can't explain, how solutions arrive before the problems fully form, how peace guards you like a soldier in rooms that used to drain you. This is divine order unfolding. It's not just happening around you, it's happening through you. You've stepped into a new contract with the universe, one that says, no more pretending, no more shrinking, no more settling. From here on out, everything must match your purpose or be removed. Every relationship, opportunity, and decision must honor your divine assignment. There's no more space for anything that asks you to trade your power for approval. This is not ego, it's clarity. You've suffered enough to know what love is supposed to feel like. You've lost enough to know what is truly valuable. And you've grown enough to recognize when your spirit is being fed, not just your insecurities. You don't need to justify that to anyone. You only need to honor it in yourself. The ones who once overlooked you will come back confused, not because you changed who you are, but because you finally remembered. And that remembrance rewrote your entire vibration. What once attracted chaos now repels it. What once welcomed disrespect now blocks it. And what once tolerated smallness now demands expansion. There's a quiet revolution taking place in your soul. You're shedding everything that no longer fits the reality you're building. Every choice you make is casting a vote for the world you want to live in. Every boundary is a declaration of your worth. Every moment of stillness is an act of worship. You are living from your core now, not your wounds. So when you feel the urge to apologize for your growth, don't. When you feel tempted to explain your evolution, don't. When you feel pressured to dim your light for the comfort of others, don't. You didn't come this far just to turn around. You didn't survive all of that just to fit in. You came to transform. And you are. This is not a temporary high. This is not a motivational phase. This is the embodiment of a divine promise, a spiritual contract unfolding in real time. Heaven said, "You are ready," and now everything in your life is echoing that truth. Even when you don't feel it, even when you're tired, even when it still hurts, you're being carried. Because when heaven backs you, failure is not your portion. Confusion is not your future. Regret is not your legacy. Your legacy is one of light, of truth, of transformation, of power. You were never made for shallow waters. That's why the deep always called you, even when you didn't understand what it was pulling you into. Others could settle for surface-level living, for fleeting validation, for temporary pleasure, but not you. Something inside you has always longed for depth, for truth, for something real enough to hold on to when everything else collapses. That hunger wasn't a weakness. It was the signal that your soul was wired for more. And so life began to stretch you, not because it hated you, but because it knew what you were carrying. The trials weren't random. The pain wasn't punishment. You were being trained for the weight of divine responsibility, carved out in the dark, refined in the silence. While others laughed, you learned. While others played, you were being prepared. It wasn't fair, but it was holy. You felt alone, but you were surrounded. You felt abandoned, but you were being guarded. You felt forgotten, but heaven had your name written in fire. You couldn't see it then. But every tear, every rejection, every door that closed was divine strategy. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. The reason the battles were so intense is because the calling on your life is disruptive. It doesn't just affect you, it shifts everything connected to you. You're not here to blend into the timeline. You're here to rewrite it, to interrupt ancestral patterns, to tear down strongholds that existed long before you were born. You are the generational reset, the turning point, the one heaven trusted with the burden of change. But no one talks about the weight of being chosen. They don't see the loneliness, the constant internal war, the pressure to always be strong, the pain of waking up with a fire inside you while the world sleeps on your gift. They don't see the days you show up for others while quietly bleeding inside, the nights you pray for signs just to make it to the next sunrise, the spiritual warfare that follows you, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness. That's why you had to go through it. That's why betrayal came early. That's why you were always the scapegoat, the misfit, the misunderstood one. That's why you've always felt like you didn't belong. Because you didn't. You weren't made to fit into broken systems. You were born to expose them. And the moment you stopped chasing their approval, you started stepping into your power. The backup you have now isn't ordinary. It's ancient, sacred, unseen by most, but undeniable in its impact. It's why people respect you before they even know you. Why they open up without knowing why. Why rooms change when you enter. It's not charisma, it's presence. And it's not something you created, it's something you carry. You didn't earn this by perfection. You received it by perseverance. You kept walking when your legs shook. You kept believing when nothing made sense. You forgave when you had every right to be bitter. And the heavens took note. They marked your name. They recorded your tears. And now, the release has begun. This next level won't require you to hustle harder. It will require you to trust deeper. You're not stepping into success. You're stepping into alignment, into flow, into divine ease. The backup isn't just covering you, it's guiding you, nudging you toward the right connections, filtering out distractions, highlighting what no longer belongs in your field. And because of that, you'll start seeing the shift. People will leave, but don't chase them. Things will fall apart, but don't panic. Projects may stall, but don't force them. This is sacred recalibration. If it's being removed, it's because it served its purpose. If it's being delayed, it's because the divine timeline is being honored. You're not behind, you're being positioned. There are realms of influence waiting for you that don't require effort, only obedience. Places you'll enter where your name has already been spoken in reverence. Hearts you'll touch without trying. Souls you'll heal simply by being who you are. That's what happens when you carry divine backup. You become a vessel, not a performer. And here's what most won't tell you. Carrying this kind of energy will make you outgrow almost everything. Shallow conversations, surface-level relationships, environments that prioritize ego over essence. You'll crave quiet, depth, realness, not because you're better, but because your spirit refuses to starve any longer. Your isolation wasn't punishment, it was preservation. You were being hidden so you could be healed, set apart so you could be set ablaze. You were taken out of the crowd so you could learn to hear the only voice that matters, the one inside you that never lies, the one that's connected to the divine. And now, that voice is leading everything. You're not just walking in a new season, you've become the season. You are the rain to someone's drought, the breakthrough to someone's prison, the light to someone's darkness. And not because you tried to be, but because you allowed yourself to become. You surrendered to the fire, and now you shine without effort. It's time to stop playing down what you've survived. Stop minimizing what you've carried. Stop explaining your intuition to those who don't even trust their own soul. You are not too much. They were simply not enough to contain your frequency. You're not intimidating. They were unprepared for someone so anchored in truth. There's a reason the pressure has been rising. It's not to break you. It's to launch you. You're being positioned on a level where everything about you must be precise. Your circle, your words, your thoughts, your intentions. There's no more room for self-sabotage. No more space for comparison. No more delays. You're done playing with potential. It's time for embodiment. The elevation you're stepping into is irreversible. The gates have opened, the downloads have begun, and every step you take now is co-signed by the divine. You no longer move for survival. You move for impact. You don't settle for connection. You demand resonance. You don't build for applause. You build for legacy. This is what happens when you remember who you are. When you stop shrinking. When you stop asking for permission to rise. When you realize that the pain didn't break you. It baptized you. The silence didn't end you. It transformed you. And the journey didn't disqualify you. It qualified you. This is the divine backup you carry. The ability to walk through fire and come out glowing. To be hated and still choose love. To be lied on and still speak truth. To be crushed and still rise like a giant. That's your power. That's your legacy. That's your light. And you're just getting started. You've arrived at a place where the past no longer defines you. It refines you. Where every scar becomes sacred. Every loss becomes a lesson. Every delay becomes divine. This is the final surge of the storm you didn't know you were built to outlast. But now that you're still standing, the truth is undeniable. You were chosen for this, built for this, protected for this, empowered for this exact moment. No more holding back. No more shrinking in the presence of fear. No more apologizing for what makes you powerful. What you carry is not ordinary. The way you feel deeply, see beyond the surface, and hear the unspoken, that's not weakness. That's the language of the divine. That's how heaven works through you. This is the chapter where everything aligns with your frequency, where your backup isn't something you hope for, it's something you walk with. It's in the way your spirit stays calm when chaos circles around you. It's in how solutions arrive right when doubt knocks at the door. It's in the peace that follows you, even when logic says you should be panicking. That's divine backup. That's spiritual power. That's what you've been carrying all along. The world tried to tell you that you needed to be louder to be heard, that you needed to compete to matter, that you needed to conform to be accepted. But now you know. Your authenticity is your access point. Your sensitivity is your superpower. Your truth is your weapon. And the ones who see you now, they don't just see your talent, they feel your presence. You've been activated. And once you're activated, there's no going back to pretending you don't know who you are. You've crossed too many thresholds. You've been tested in too many hidden places. The spiritual promotions you've received weren't handed out in public. They were earned in private, in your tears, in your silence, in your obedience. And heaven saw every moment. So now, as doors begin to open and blessings start to chase you down, remember this. It's not a coincidence. It's not luck. It's not random. This is a divine release, an overdue return on the seeds you planted in faith. It's your harvest, and it's your time. This doesn't mean the attacks will stop, but they will lose their power. This doesn't mean you won't face resistance, but now you'll meet it with a different posture. One that says, I'm not afraid. I'm not alone. I'm not confused. I know who I am, and I know who walks with me. You've stopped trying to be palatable. You've stopped watering yourself down. You've stopped seeking spaces that only love the version of you that stays small. That's why everything is shifting. That's why old environments feel uncomfortable. That's why you can't unsee what's been revealed to you. You've been upgraded internally, and now your outer world has no choice but to reflect that. Expect acceleration. Expect new alliances. Expect divine interventions that seem impossible by human standards. You've entered the realm where favor isn't logical, where things just happen because heaven said so, where closed doors swing open without you knocking, where strangers bless you, not knowing why, where miracles aren't rare, they're daily. This level of grace can feel surreal at first, like you're dreaming, like it's too good to be true. But trust this, it's real. It's been real. You just needed to become the version of yourself who could hold it, who could carry the blessing without self-sabotaging, who could stand in abundance and still remain grounded in truth. Because you've seen what lack feels like, you'll never take overflow for granted. Because you've known heartbreak, your love now carries healing. Because you've felt empty, your words now fill others. And because you've been through darkness, your light now guides the path for those behind you. That's the power of the chosen one. That's the blueprint of a spiritual leader. You're not just here to live, you're here to liberate, to walk so boldly in your truth that it gives others permission to do the same, to embody a level of peace that makes others believe healing is possible, to be a walking reminder that God still moves, that angels still walk the earth, that grace still covers those who refuse to give up. And when doubt tries to creep in again, and it will, just pause, breathe, listen. Feel the energy around you. Feel how you're never truly alone. Feel the warmth that surrounds you when your spirit goes quiet. That's not your imagination. That's not a comforting illusion. That's your backup. Always there, always watching, always ready to step in. You didn't survive for nothing. You didn't heal for nothing. You didn't endure all that pain just to live an average life. You are the divine disruption, the living proof that no weapon formed against you could prosper. You are the message, the movement, the miracle. Your legacy has already begun. Not in fame, not in wealth, but in impact. In the way people feel peace in your presence, in the way your voice calms storms, in the way your silence commands reverence. That's spiritual royalty. That's divine authority. That's the power of the chosen one. Heaven has your back, and from this point forward, you fear nothing.